important guy. He hopes to unseat Senator Elizabeth Warren in the Senate in 2018. Shiva, I'm going to have to try to get this name right. It is Shiva Ayyadurai.
Ayyadurai, yeah. So imagine you said, I adore you. So you say Ayyadurai.
I can say it, I can say it. You're the guy that invented email.
I did. I invented it as a 14-year-old kid in Newark, New Jersey, right down, across the river. When I was 14, in those days, people used large mainframe computers. I had come from India as a 7-year-old kid as an immigrant. I had this great opportunity to go through the public school systems and finished calculus by the 9th grade and went to NYU in a special computer program, computer science program.
That's
well, I was also, I was not just a nerd. I played baseball, soccer, had a, it was the American experience that I went through, and I was very, very fortunate, and I love this country.
Okay, well, I do too, and I'm a recent immigrant, recent citizen, that is. Now, why have you taken aim at Senator Elizabeth Warren in the state of Massachusetts? I mean, you could stand for the Senate anywhere you like. You could do that. Why Massachusetts? Why Elizabeth Warren?
Well, Stuart, I've been in Massachusetts since '81, since I was a 17-year-old kid. It's my backyard. And over the, the last many years, I went through the experience of, as an immigrant, education and innovation. I went through the MIT process, got 4 degrees, started 7 different companies. And when I saw Donald Trump win, I felt this was a call for, frankly, a new American revolution. And people like scientists and engineers and people who actually work for a living should participate in government, which was, I think, the ideal of our founders. So I feel very fortunate to go against Elizabeth Warren. And, if you think about it, Massachusetts is really the center, in many ways, the belly of the beast, where the academic elites exist.
Sure.
They think they know better. Sure. And the reality is most of these elites know very little. They haven't had to start businesses, create jobs. And I think it's time that we get rid of these lawyer lobbyists. Well, that's what Elizabeth Warren represents.
That's very good, because Elizabeth Warren stood up and said, you didn't build this on your own. You needed government. You needed the roads. And you're going right up against that whole idea. You're going up against socialism. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're really saying is that these people are fake fighters. They basically pander, they manipulate the masses, and they create fights that basically do not exist. And essentially what they want to do is create big things. If you look at what she did with Dodd-Frank, and supporting that, Dodd-Frank essentially destroyed 1,200 community banks. Obamacare destroyed thousands of local doctors. And if you go back to Sarbanes-Oxley, which the Democrats supported, essentially destroyed many small businesses because of the regulations it put on. So Elizabeth Warren represents what I call the not-so-obvious establishment. And this is a recurrent in history, where you have the establishment, which wants to keep things the way they are. You have people like Donald Trump who are change agents. And then you have the insidious element, people like Elizabeth Warren, who speak a good game, and they essentially confuse the masses to essentially funnel them back to the policies of the establishment, which is big business, and destroy the small guy. While they represent, great PR. So they're fighting for the small guy.
You've got to go through the primary process. I mean, you're not the Republican candidate yet at this point. You've got to go through the primaries. Are you self-financed? I'm sure you're a wealthy guy.
Well, here's the interesting thing. When I looked at the numbers, I don't understand where a lot of this money goes. And from an entrepreneurial level. So we are running our campaign as though it's an entrepreneurial business. The key is, the product is the authenticity of the message, what we stand for, and then you have to do the marketing and the selling. I see a lot of the career politicians raise tons of money. Most of it is going to consultants. A lot of it goes into TV, which is good, but there's other mediums now, social media. There's other vehicles where you can go direct. And so we're running this in a very, very different way, and running it in a very frugal, tight budget.
Yeah, you are, because that's a very different approach. I mean, we've had social media as a factor in elections for, say, the last 4 or 5 years, but it's coming on so strong. You know how to use it. That gives you a leg up, I suspect.
Definitely, definitely. The technology, one of the companies I built was called EchoMail, where we actually created technology for analyzing email for the White House, believe it or not, back when Clinton was around. We grew that to a company to actually support digital media. In fact, the Bush campaign used us back in 2000. So I know digital media well, and there's very cool things you could do with integrating digital media with offline, what people call transmedia. So when you integrate offline and online, you get a much better lift. And there's some very powerful ways to use media that I think technologists and media people know, that you don't just have to throw a ton of money at a lot of this stuff. It's sort of dumb money.
What's the timetable here? Because we'd like to follow your progress.
Yeah, so if you think about it, April is when the state convention is.
That's April of next year.
April of next year.
Republican state convention.
Republican state convention, where they actually select the nominee. And then September is the actual Republican primary, and then November, literally 2 months later, is a general election. But I'm looking forward to going against Warren. You know, I know how these elites work. I know I can defeat her. You know, it's the same process that people like Elizabeth Warren have done for a long time, essentially, to confuse people. Now, in Massachusetts, 46% of Democrats have said that Elizabeth Warren should not run. So there's a significant opportunity here. So for me, defeating Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts is driving a bigger blow at these institutions of power right at the belly of the beast. You know, to support, I think, you know, I love Donald Trump. I think he's doing a great job. He's my hero. And I'm very fortunate, again, to be part of this moment in history.
I got to tell you that way back, I was on with Sean Hannity on the night when Scott Brown won Ted Kennedy's Senate seat in the state of Massachusetts. That was a sensation.
Yeah.
If you do the same and beat Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren, that would be a double sensation.
Well, I think only a real Indian can defeat the fake Indian.
Oh.
I sent her a DNA test kit for her birthday, and I was very sad that she returned it. And I tweeted it out, and it went viral all over the internet. Because, see, the issue of real Indian and fake Indian, there's a truth there, because here's a woman who actually checked off the box saying that she was a Native American.
Yep.
I mean, this foretells a person who's basically a self-serving elitist, is willing to cut in line as she needs, is willing to promote policies, for example, illegal immigration, so others can cut in line. I came in as a legal immigrant. You know, my dad came first. We had to wait about a year. So there's essentially disrespect for the law and disrespect for the country. And these